Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and this is Cultural Spotlight. Joining me today are two Calgary Italian icons, Tony Spoletini, who is owner of Spolumbo's, and Frank Mafrica, owner of Maf-Worx Concrete Services. Thanks for joining us today, gents.
Thank you, Mario, for having us.
Okay, we're going to talk about being Italian. We're all the trio here, the holy trinity of Italians here. Tell me from your perspective, guys, what do you think was the best thing that you guys enjoyed growing up or just being in the Italian culture and heritage? What's the best thing about it?
I think, Mayor, just being that first generation, you had the best of both worlds. You were Canadian, but you were still Italian, and how you were able to balance the old culture, I mean, your Italian culture with the new Canadian culture and all the fun stuff that went with that was incredible.
Mm-hmm. As for me, it's just finding out how diverse the Italian culture was or is. I mean, with all different regions of Italy. I mean, I'm Calabrese, so the southern part of Italy, if you spoke to my parents, they really didn't know anything outside of Calabria. Whereas us kids, we learned about basically every different group and every different dialect as well. Yeah. So it was kind of fun.
Tony, well, your family is from what?
So my mom is Calabrese and my dad's from Abruzzi. So I got a kind of two perspectives. We spoke, and what's kind of neat is that with a lot of us, my dad being the oldest son, he had his parents with him. So I was raised with my grandparents in the household basically until I got married. That's another Italian thing. You don't leave until you get married, right? So I was playing pro ball and still living at home. It was amazing. And so, you know, I spoke the Abruzzese dialect. Yeah, my mom spoke the Calabrese dialect, but she could speak, like Frank's mom, multiple dialects. It was great.
And my family's from Friuli, and as you're right, every region has a different dialect. I remember visiting Napoli here. I had no freaking clue what they're talking about.
Exactly. And you had to watch your suitcase because it's like, no, I'm just kidding.
So tell me, as you were growing up, I assume, I know Tony grew up in Calgary. Frank, you grew up in Calgary too,
I was
right?
born and raised in Bridgeland.
Same.
Oh, Bridgeland. Oh my gosh, there we go. Little Italy, right? So did you guys think you were different than other
yes, yes and no. So different in the sense that our parents cleaned their own chickens. We had gutted pigs in the garage. Our lunches were homemade bread, Mayor, with mortadella. So it was almost like, I'll let Frank speak for himself, but I actually felt a little bit embarrassed in elementary school with my lunches and knowing that my friends' parents didn't kill their own chickens and their yard wasn't all garden and stuff like that. And then as you got older, you were proud of that. And then you finally realize you're getting ripped off because your buddy's trading you a peanut butter sandwich for like prosciutto and mortadella, and you don't even figure that out until you're in junior high, right? So
it's true. I actually didn't know any better at first. I mean, and then of course, a little older than Tony, when you say racism, you say discrimination. We knew all of that growing up as well. I mean, it was common in Bridgeland. There was so many different ethnic groups. You had the Germans, Polish, you had Italian, of course, Ukrainian. There was native population. It was a mixed group, and it seemed like you were a lot smarter, street smart, so to speak, growing up, because you learned that way. Because our parents were. It's a little different. Back then, we didn't lock the doors. Everybody didn't lock the doors. It was that kind of, and it was kind of almost a community parody group. They're almost on patrol. If you ever saw 12, 13-year-olds smoking, they tell you, put it out there. We're going to tell your folks, they're police.
Well, Mayor, I think the support our parents gave us was like now, Frank and I, yourself, we coach. We go to school and you're part of committees. What they could do basically, because they didn't speak or speak very well, is all they could do was open their door. So we played sports. They couldn't coach. They didn't know football, hockey. But what they did make us proud is that they told us to bring our teammates home, or they would, bring something to the wind-up party. So that's where there was the cultural differences, where a lot of our friends' parents were managers, coaches, and that. Our parents were there just, supporting, buddy, providing food like Italians do, right?
Oh,
but I mean, that helped us really get into the community, where they saw the Italians as very, very kind, very generous, and we did have good food and good wine,
Still do.
Still do, exactly. Okay, so not to belabor this point, but you know what? You guys are kind of the stereotypical Italians, right? Tony, you went into business of making sausages. Frank,
Yeah.
the business of making concrete.
Yes.
The only reason, like, my dad was a supervisor for rolling mixed concrete for 47 years, and that used to be, my summer job. Mayor was pushing gariole, right, and pushing a wheelbarrow, but that market was saturated, so Tom, Mike, and I got into sausage. But Frankie has been doing it how many years now, bro?
44 years I've been in this business. Basically as a / proprietor, owner, general manager, operating.
He got smart. He moved himself up from Cariol. He did good. He's like,
But it's been a struggle. But like anything else, it just happened to be in a stereotype. Of course, Italian concrete. Everybody associates that. In food, it's one or the other.
One or the other, man. The third option, Mayor, we don't want to go there. Not unless you're in New Jersey or Chicago.
Yeah, there's not enough work.
There's not enough work here in that department.
All right, so let's talk about some of your favorite Italian things. What's your favorite Italian food?
Mine, Mayor, definitely pasta, man. As you can see, man, I love pasta, and I love hot sauce on the pasta.
Pizza, pasta, pizza, I go crazy. And of course, wine. I love
wine. We drink our fair share of Italian wine, definitely. We're wine snobs. We're predominantly Italian, yeah.
Okay. What about drink? Wine is the number one, or anything?
Yeah,
else?
well, I'm a big fan of grappa too, Mayor. I love grappa. I love prosecco. I enjoy limoncello, but and even amaro. We love having amaro after a big meal. Helps you digest, Bella. So you know what? Wine, grappa, the liqueur. Some of the Italian liqueurs after dinner are really, really nice.
Okay. Be prepared, guys. I'm going to show you the worst nightmare from your childhood. Okay.
Okay.
Oh shit. Oh, sorry. Oh. Okay.
Yeah. This is a big one. Thank God my mom never had this device. What was your experience with one of these things?
I'm still in therapy. I mean, with that there. I think my mom went through, I think my dad used to buy them a dozen at a time every week at the Italian store.
We got CTE from the cuffs in the back of the head at dinner, not from playing football. It was like
We've got a family reunion. Helmets are optional.
That's right. It's like, but Mayor, did you find the ciambetto, the slipper? Because they were wicked with that too, man. They could throw around corners. They could bend it like Beckham, man. Those things are
the biting.
And the
biting, and then the drop kicks. There were a lot of. I think we all went through that.
Yeah.
What is it, when you, Frank, I don't know much about your family, but you have children?
What's that? Do I have children?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've got three. I had three, bro. My oldest brother passed away, but we were a family of 5.
No, but yourself, do you have your own?
I have 2 children.
Okay.
A daughter and a son. Yes.
Okay, so both of you, what do you hope to pass on to your children about the culture and the heritage?
Well, right now, like I said, the wine making, the nonna making homemade pasta and the sauce and the jars. I know the boys, they go and help my dad now. My dad likes to have the boys there rather than me helping them, change the wine, do the press, teach them. And so my dad used to, as he got older, went from Mare the grapes to just the juice, right? It was easier. But then the boys said, no, let's go back to doing the grapes. And he said, only if you guys dump the grapes, you unload them. And they did it because they wanted to see it right from step one, watching them get crushed, pressed, watch it, boil over, then put into the damigens and the barrels, right, Mayor? So what's nice is that they're still want to carry on, watching Nonna make ricotta, homemade bread, homemade pasta, gnocchi, all that stuff, right? But if we can,
Christmas cookies.
Yeah, I'm sure you're the same, Mary. I know you guys like to try and keep those traditions going, and that's what's huge. The supersatas, hanging your own, super sausage to dry in the cold room. Like we all have. Half of my garage, Mayor, is a bomb shelter. It's a cold room underneath. My dad put steel. The cool room. So half of my garage is at the bottom is under the garage is like a cold room. That's all concrete to keep stuff.
So my mother would make olives. There was always, anytime harvest in the fall, there was olives, and then there was all the jarring of
eggplant,
vegetables,
peppers, all that stuff. Tomatoes, our own
tomato sauce,
right? The own jarred tomatoes, right, Mayor?
And fruit too. That the peaches.
There's a certain smell to that cantina, right?
It's if there was ever you get locked up, you get in the cantina and you're good for months until everything corrects
That's
itself.
literally a bunker.
It is a bunker.
It's a bunker, no doubt. I mean, I remember growing up. Tony was too young when they finally legalized the making of wine.
Tell them what they used to do, Frank.
Our house growing up, my dad made a fake wall.
It's like bootlegging.
Underneath the steps, but it was probably 10 by 12, 10 by 14. The cantina, the RCMP came in because the neighbors complained. He'd get 50 cases and he would make it down to like 2. And they'd say, well, they could smell the wine fermenting and all. They go in the basement, everything. Couldn't find it. They tapped the walls, everything. He had it done perfectly. Like the walls were like plaster thick, but he made it so there was a section. But the nail, you had to go across the other room. So you had a spring that you could pull and unlatch it, take it off, and then you'd go in. And then it was in 1968, the Calgary Italian Club. A couple guys,
Alberto Romano and Del Rainmaker were instrumental in
getting the province to approve finally that for home consumption. That was July of 68.
And see, that's where the concrete skills come in good.
Yes.
But you know what's sad, Mayor, is that they were treating them like they were like the prohibition, and they weren't very nice about it. They would dump it. My mom remembers as a teenager, because she was living with her brothers, they would go there and they would dump it on the front lawn, and they would be like the 1920s, the Untouchables. They would go there and bust the stuff, and the Italians were just, it was for their own consumption and their friends. And I think that's what happened in 68. They said, look, it's for consumption. If you're giving it to somebody as a gift, that your kumbare, or you give it to your neighbor, a nice, gallon of wine for Christmas. That's what it came to be.
Yeah. And with my kids in particular, and Tony's done the same. Before, you've been lucky that you had your parents, your grandparents.
Yeah.
I didn't have that luxury. My father passed away before my kids were even born, before I was married. So my mother spent some time with my children, and with the culture between my aunts and all of them. Then I've taken them to Italy as well. Took them for the Winter Olympics in 2006. She met a lot of them, and they love the culture. They love to learn. Both my kids are foodies now. They both love to cook, as are my nieces and nephews. Everybody, they're right into the Italian culture like crazy. Whereas for me, making wine now, I've stopped because I'm a snob now, as Tony calls it. Because I would rather buy it.
Okay, Tony, what's the favorite food that your mom made?
My mom, she could do anything amazing, but her homemade pasta is to die for. And and even her cutlets, like the fried breaded cutlets or the fried chicken cutlets, Mayor. They're you can't stop, man. They're not greasy. They're just perfect. Milanese style. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, Frank,
My mother was
your mom.
lasagna. Nobody does it better. My mom's lasagna and her bread. Oh my God, homemade bread is unbelievable.
But yeah, mom too. I forgot her homemade bread, Mayor. She, like his mom. Every aunt in the family that had good bread. Well, his mom, my mom, we'd be delivering. Frank and I were like bakery. We'd be delivering them to everybody when
I used to hate that. Yeah. Are you going out? Yes. Okay. Can you drop these off to Kamani? I said, oh, I feel like a delivery truck.
When you look at the Italian community in Calgary, what do you guys think in terms of, is it a strong community? Does it need to work more harder to be a stronger community?
I think, Mayor, the Italian community, though not as prominent in volume as in Montreal or Toronto or maybe even Vancouver, has made a huge impact in Calgary. The leaders that we've had, like a Judge Sione, and in the restaurant industries and in the construction industries like Rolly Mix, Frank, the legal, guys that we've had as QC and in the, in all the different fields, business, you name it, the Italian community has had an impact here. The Ferzanis, opening the door for a lot of us in football and in the sporting goods. But I think where we've really hit it big, Mayor, was with the things like the Sportsman Dinner and the Italian Club and being the first to give scholarships and opening Italian classes in the school. So our community has also reached out to make an impact in education and a lot of different things. So I think we've been visible, even though not large in population.
Well, I mean, the only thing with Tony, that's great on that end, but not to be the devil's advocate, the one thing that does bother me about the Italian community here, I wish we were more cohesive and more as a group, united, more supportive. Yeah. There's not enough members of the Italian club. It should be out there. A lot of them, the diversification of the club itself. I mean, a lot of groups are different. I think we all got together and made an actual Italian club, a larger one, like say model like down east. Well, you're from Ottawa, but like in Toronto, a lot of them that are, seniors home, with a store and doctors and just a facility that more of an Italian center, so to speak, but with everything in there, like all services that are available. In Calgary, we don't have that. So Edmonton, they do.
Yeah. So guys, when you guys are, you look at your lives, your careers, etc. I'm going to ask you, outside of your parents and maybe any relatives or whatever, who in the Italian community did you look up to and maybe even consider as a mentor, as an example of what you could do with your life and what you could do with your career?
Well, as a young child, I really thought the world of the Ferzanis. I was a big football fan, and knowing that the three brothers grew up just up the street in Bridgeland. Like I lived in Bridgeland, and then we moved to Dalhousie. But for my early childhood years, we were in Bridgeland. And then to see not only what they did on the football field, to see how they took their skills and teamwork and hard work in that, and then starting obviously Ferzanis and all that, and also not because Frank's next to me now, but Frank's like an older brother. Just watching Frank, grow his business with Asti and Maf-Worx, and kind of being like an older brother to me and always supporting us too. So I would have to say the Ferzanis and Frank were huge in my life.
Frank?
For me, there was a lot of, I had cousins that were teachers, and then friends that became friends, like Joe DePauli was a lawyer and it really touched base. He was the first guy really to be able at the Italian Club to relate to the youth and to the elders. And then, of course, with all the aunts, uncles, like Bridgeland, Tony was still a little young there. Then we were that's when the Italian community was really tight. Like everybody lived, next door to each other. We didn't have much, but there was always a party, a baptism, or a confirmation, or a communion. Everybody had a party.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at my family. It's very rare that I get to go to any one of these. There used to be one every week.
Do you guys miss that fact that
I do, Mary, and I'm going to share a story where Frank's mom now is in care, but when she was still moving around, Frank brought her to the deli, and my mom was still working, and my mom went out to see her, and my mom started to cry because Frank's mom already had 5 kids. My mom was just newly married at 18, and Frank's mom, was like 3-4 blocks down, and my mom's new to this new country, and she told her, listen, we're all here together, we're all family, don't worry about it, this is gonna all work out, and then to see, Frank's mom, 15, 20 years later, and to remember that kind of support, Mayor, is, like Frank was saying, it was back then when everybody was struggling, there just seemed to be more cohesiveness and stuff.
Yeah, and you look at what your family's accomplished, like what your parents accomplished. I include my parents as well. They come into a foreign country with nothing, and look where they are today. Like, does that amaze you when you think about? And it's the immigrant story, and no matter what culture.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they teach us what hard work. I mean, like work ethic. I mean, they teach us right from wrong, and to respect our elders. It goes a long way. It's the Italian way, that way, and that's what I've instilled in my children as well. And I think it goes a long way when you look at it. And go back to like the Fanox, right? I mean, you watch them. There are a lot of people that you got to know that, you look at Joe Gadigaeta, and you look at, who are founders, the Carlonis.
The Carloni.
The Gary Cioni's dad. I mean, there's a great book called The Spaghetti Western, written by Gary Cioni's sister. I will pass that on to you. I'll let you read that. That gives a real insight into Bridgeland. And
in the late 40s, they had the first Italian restaurant, like right on Edmonton Trail, in the corner of where was it, Frank?
But they had a couple other places. Then they moved it up by the Romeo and Juliet Inn, and stuff. But it's a great book to read, and it's touching and sad because he passed away so young.
Yeah.
But at the same token, it kind of gives you a feeling of what Calgary was like in the Italian community in the 40s and 50s.
Oh,
so it's kind of good. And Gary Cioni is noted in that quite a few times.
All right.
My sister.
Well, super, guys. I appreciate your time on this. It was fun having you on.
No, thank you for reminiscing, Mayor. We appreciate it.
Okay, and I know if I need a sausage or if I'm in need of concrete, I know where to go.
For sure. I just want to make this clear. Tony and I were discussing it. The Italians invented goat yoga. Remember that. Goat yoga was Italians.
That's right.
The only difference is we used to eat them after we had yoga.
Okay, gents, thanks.
Okay, take care.
Hey, Tony Spoletini with Spolumbos and Frank Mafrica with Maf-Worx. I'm Mario Toneguzzi. This has been Taking Care of Business. Thanks for joining us today.